Hello there, and welcome to the Bitcoin Takeover podcast. This is season 16, episode 9. We are live with Saunter, who is a designer at Alby, and this episode is sponsored by Citrea, Layer 2 Labs, Siteshift.ai, Bitcoin.com News, No Once, and Huddling.ch. It's really good to have you, Saunter. You have been telling me that you want to join the show for about a month now, and I think it's an interesting day to talk about the Lightning Network and what it does.
Yeah, happy to be here. I'm traveling, so and also I was on various events here in Central America. So happy we found time to finally talk.
So I did have Michael Booman, the creator of Alby, a couple of years ago on the show. I know that it evolved from something that's called Joule. Joule at the time was this browser extension that you could use to use the Lightning Network across various other websites. And it was supposed to be sort of like the MetaMask for the Lightning Network. That concept, for some reason, did not get a lot of users, but when it was rebranded and repackaged as Alby, and I think it was the perfect storm with Nostr, it became a much bigger deal. And right now, I think Alby is one of the top free Lightning wallets. And also, I know that you guys went non-custodial.
Yeah, so all is correct except I mean so before, when we offered the custodial wallet, it was a free custodial wallet, but now we offer Alby Hub, which is a Lightning node or Lightning wallet within itself. It's free, but but before you had the setup before was probably a bit simpler. That you can just create an account, which is the custodial wallet, and you could use it with Alby browser extension. Now you need to use. Before you also could connect many other nodes and Lightning wallets like LND or CLN. You can also connect Blink, and you can connect now many wallets with Nostr Connect. But yeah, we don't offer anymore this custodial wallet. We invite people to try Alby Hub. We offer a simple setup where Alby Hub is hosted in a cloud, where it's protected by a password of user's choice, so we don't see any of your keys. But you also can self-host it on any environment you want, on Linux, Windows, macOS, or just install it as an app on Umbrel or Start9, and then it uses your current channels then Alby Hub uses this channels, while if it's a standalone app, it uses LDK, and then this is just a small node within itself.
Right, so let's talk about the setup where you are using the infrastructure provided by Alby, so your servers, but at the same time you're opening your own channels. So Alby does not have access to the funds that you use for opening channels. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We don't provide LSP services ourselves. So in Alby Hub, there's I think very straightforward process to open new channels. We don't automate it yet. We may add some optional automation similar to Phoenix in the future. Right now, we give full control to the user, and we allow user to choose between different LSPs, so they can compare the cost, they can compare channel size. I think there are like four or five LSPs in Alby Hub you can easily open to. But also you can open to any other node if you want. So you can just use custom channel, a custom node flow, and just provide node public key and open to your friend, for example. And we don't currently we don't charge for any of this. The only thing for what we charge is the cloud service if you want to use our cloud infrastructure.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about this because you have all of these Lightning businesses, and not too many are profitable. Many of them have raised VC funding, and they're running on that, and they're basically draining the funds. Because I'm not sure if even some of the largest routers in the Lightning Network are too profitable, because they invested a lot of money in the infrastructure and also in opening and balancing channels. And it's a problem. And what's Alby's business model?
Yeah, so right now, so our main profit now is from this cloud service. We also offer, if you use Alby account, which gives you this additional benefits as Lightning address, for example, but you can also buy Bitcoin through your Alby account. Then we have some feeder. We're thinking of introducing Lightning on-chain swaps within Alby Hub, for example, and then even in self-hosted hubs, that would be some profit for us. So so we're still working on it, figuring out business model. I think big part of this is the thought I had for some time, that it's very hard to have profitable business with Bitcoin if you focus on spending. It's if you're an exchange or hardware wallet provider, it's, I think, much easier. But if your business is on spending, it's Alby, Blink, I know Geyser, all these Bitcoin companies that try to push the spending side of Bitcoin. It's still early and for that market, and just a small amount of Bitcoiners want to spend, right? So this is hopefully, I think it's slowly changing. I think it's getting, Bitcoin is getting used more, and there's more opportunities to use Bitcoin. So hopefully Bitcoiners will be more eager to spend. Also, I guess the more the volatility is lower and slows down, there's less this fear of, oh, my Bitcoin will shoot to the moon and I don't want to spend it, right? So I'm positive, optimistic in a way that it's aligned for more using Bitcoin as real money, not only for savings, but also for spending. And I think Bitcoin should be used, all properties of money should be used, should be utilized by Bitcoin users. So
yeah, my understanding is that the Lightning Network is not used, I hope it's not used for people to store their coins for saving. So what you put on the Lightning Network is what you intend to spend.
Yeah.
The concept originates from payments channels, which was about, instead of sending 10 on-chain transactions to the same party, you open a channel with someone and you send maybe as many transactions as you need, and then you settle before you return to the main chain. It's just that when you have the president of the United States and also the most famous person in Bitcoin right now telling you to never sell your Bitcoin, and you also have a bunch of laws that make it very hard to spend in a few countries because of capital gains taxes, because you have to do some extra accounting that just makes it more cumbersome. It's hard to get this sort of adoption. But I know that you're in South America right now, and I'm not gonna dox the location or whatever, but my question for you is, how is it different on the ground? Do you see adoption happening at a grassroots level?
Yeah, before we go there, I want just to address the storing versus saving on Lightning. And I agree, we shouldn't save on Lightning. It's in the end, it's a hot wallet. Even if it's self-custodial, it's a hot wallet. But I think, and it also what happened to me in a way when I started traveling here. Like, so far most Lightning users use it for very low amounts, like zapping on Nostr, buying coffee, and this is kind of pocket money, let's say, I don't know, pocket money scale of using money, right? So even if you use Lightning, even self-custodial, it's usually quite low amounts. But I think we're gonna transfer more and more, especially the more people use Bitcoin as their main money source, let's say, into using Lightning as a kind of Bitcoin checking account. And I think Alby Hub is perfect for that. So it's still not savings money, right? But it's, let's say, an amount of your monthly salary, right? And especially if we're gonna get more tools that will allow seamlessly use your Lightning balance in fiat rails, like if you need to spend from Lightning to some shop that doesn't accept Bitcoin. And I think these tools are appearing, and there's more and more of this kind of tools. It'd be much easier to like live fully on Bitcoin and like transit to living and just using Bitcoin for your everyday life, even if it's, through intermediaries in a way. And then if you really want to do that, you need a little bit bigger amount of money, right? I don't know, a few hundred or $2,000 on your Lightning balance. So I think, the more people like start living on Bitcoin and start trying to use it for every payment or almost every payment, that will just increase, I think, balances of Lightning channels that will increase usage and spending and probably profit for LSPs and these companies that are dependent on spending. So maybe I'm over optimistic, but and coming back to the Central America, this happened to me a bit when I started. So I for the past 4 months, I was traveling in El Salvador, Guatemala, and now I'm in Costa Rica. And in these places, you have pockets of quite high or very high Bitcoin adoption. It looks different in each of these communities, each of those places, it looks a bit different. But I started to use Bitcoin here for almost everything, at least when I was spending time in that places, and I was mostly spending time in that places. And then suddenly I had this kind of perspective change in my mind that, that I don't use Lightning anymore as this kind of pocket, that I have this pocket wallet in my phone and I just pay for coffee, on a conference or just once every few weeks, or I just send someone something on the internet. I started using it as my kind of self-banking service. And I started to use, I had this shift that Alby Hub is this kind of similar experience to like you have your checking account or like banking account and you just manage your finances. And, some of the finances I use for spending for coffee. So I connect it to my mobile app. Some of it I receive salary to my channels, right? So it just started to feel in a way similar to banking experience of banking, but on Bitcoin and like self-sovereign banking experience. And it was quite revelating to me. And this gave me the glimpse of possible future, right? I don't know if more people will if the industry and the adoption will come into the way that more people will be able to do it, but I'm optimistic that at least that's the direction we can strive for.
I was going to ask you because my experience, I was not in Central America, I was in South America, in Argentina. And when I was there, I tried to pay just like at normal Bitcoin conferences in Europe with a Lightning wallet. And I discovered that nobody wants that. They all wanted USDT. They didn't care how. They didn't care if it's on Tron or Ethereum or Binance or whatever. Custodial or not, they wanted USDT. And
on a Bitcoin conference or outside or just in the city?
It was La BitConf.
Oh, that's strange. That's disappointing.
It is, but you can't really blame them. Because that's what they want.
Okay, but if it's a Bitcoin conference, then why are they coming there, right? I mean,
it's a free market,
Oh yeah, sure, and I'm not like again. I mean, I understand the let's say, value of stablecoins and for those people. And I prefer them to use Bitcoin, but I understand not anyone wants to be exposed to the price volatility, right? So I don't have anything against it. Yeah, but here in here in Central America, of course it's not like you can spend Bitcoin everywhere and like in the whole country, right? But there are these pockets, these communities where you can really basically fully live on Bitcoin, or you need to use fiat, once per 2 weeks, maybe because you didn't find this service you wanted that accepts Bitcoin. And yeah, in El Salvador, there's a few places like that. And in El Salvador, even outside of those communities, there's still quite high merchant adoption, not ubiquitous, not it's not how some people might want it, that you'll be able to use it everywhere. But still, even in towns where there's no Bitcoin community, you'll find merchants that you can pay with Bitcoin. And in Guatemala, there's, I would say, 3 cities where there's quite high merchant adoption. And in Costa Rica, it's interesting. There are 2 communities, Bitcoin Jungle and Pura Vida Bitcoin, they're called. So they have high merchant adoption, but also what they did, the Bitcoin Jungle guys, they integrated. Costa Rica has this, fast payment system, like mobile payments. Many countries have their own, like payments to the mobile phone number, right? So most merchants use it. And Bitcoin Jungle did integration with full Bitcoin exchange, so you can pay to those. You can pay with that payment system from Bitcoin Jungle wallet, right? So what that means is you can spend Bitcoin here almost everywhere, because most merchants accept it through that integration. Of course, it's only from Bitcoin Jungle wallet, so it's not it's not perfect. But if someone doesn't want to hold fiat, they just want to hold Bitcoin, they can come here and they can just hold Bitcoin and use it everywhere. Yeah, and yeah, I have a lot of thoughts around adoption. And to be honest, so I arrived in El Salvador and I spent most time there, about 3 months. And I didn't have high hopes, so I didn't have this delusion that, I will be able to use Bitcoin everywhere, right? I was kind of up to date with what's happening here. I think I had like realistic expectations, but I was actually positively surprised. So, many people said, in El Zonte, the adoption fell down. But when I was in El Zonte, I lived there for a week. I actually been there a few times, but so let's say in total 2 weeks, and I only had once to use fiat. Really, everywhere I go, except Bitcoin. But besides that, I was positively surprised by the amount of bottom-up initiatives here. So not stuff that is initiated by the government, but just, I think, because the best thing the Salvadorian government does is that it does not interfere with people on the ground that want to do something for Bitcoin adoption, right? So there is a lot of great initiatives run by people, both local people and some foreigners who moved there, who really, do a really great job by, teaching Bitcoin in schools. Like thousands of kids have been taught about Bitcoin, having installed wallets. There is one guy called Pupusa G. You can find him on Twitter. He's Salvadorian. And he's doing like Bitcoin classes in Salvadorian schools for not for like all kids, but for like more technical kids, let's say. I don't know how they're selected, if it's a special if it's part of IT class. But anyway, what he does is that they give him he gives them Start9. They run a Start9 node. They have BitAxe, so they learn about mining. They use Sparrow. They use Alby extension. They connect their nodes to Alby extension, and then, like, he's really, teaching them this really the most self-sovereign stack you can have in Bitcoin. Also, cold card, right? So hardware wallets. And he's also doing it in a fun way, right? He was presenting on Adopting Bitcoin and Plan conference, and he shows these videos from these classes, and the kids are just having fun, they're just experimenting. He really makes it in a fun way. And he taught, hundreds or thousands of kids in that way. And he's just one initiative. There's much more. There's Mi Primero Bitcoin, there's Plus, which focus on young workers. So I'm very bullish on this bottom-up initiatives. And as long as the government just allows them to work, right, and just don't interfere, I think this will bring some good fruition. It will take time in a few years, but I wouldn't be surprised if, like, most Bitcoin developers in the future will be from El Salvador, because they're just taught about this very early, and they have one of the best educational initiatives here for the country population, and this will hopefully also increase in the next year. So this was surprising for me, and this part of adoption was very surprising, positively surprising for me.
On the other hand, the reports on the ground are that there is lower adoption than maybe a couple of years ago, and also that El Salvador gave up on their Chivo Wallet.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been here before, so it's hard for me to compare, so I cannot really comment on that. As I said, I didn't have expectations to play everywhere. I had expectations to play in these Bitcoin communities, and there you can really live on Bitcoin. And especially, I think, and my most beloved place I visited here is Berlin. It's a city, it's a small town in El Salvador, about 10,000 people living there, and they have about, 200 Bitcoin merchants out of, I think, 500 merchants in total in the town. And they have also a really strong local community, which is a mix of locals, Salvadorians, and foreigners who moved there. This community was started by also Salvadorians. And I was, and there are locals there who, learned about Bitcoin a year and a half ago. And they are living on Bitcoin standard. I mean, some of them are using mostly Bitcoin, and they save all money in Bitcoin. Some of them are saving part of it in Bitcoin. But, it's probably still a very small number of, percent of population. But I think it's incredible that, this community is really orange-pilled and, like, taught and educated. Some of these locals, and they also, and they don't do it in, this kind of hype, dangerous way. I mean, those locals who are, let's say, living on Bitcoin standard, they understand the volatility, they understand some risk, right? They have most of their money in self-custody. So yeah, so I just see a lot of, and yeah, as I said, I cannot compare how it was before, but I see a lot of this positive signs, and I think this kind of circular economy is the way that the real adoption is happening around the world, actually, not only in El Salvador, but this is the way to do it, the best way to do it. Not through countries buying Bitcoin to their, strategic Bitcoin reserve, because it doesn't give Bitcoin to the people. Only the circular economies give, in a way, not literally giving Bitcoin, but making normal people understand Bitcoin, and then those people can either buy it or can earn it or whatever. So this is, I think, better approach to adoption. But about the Chivo Wallet, I think it was a way of the government to get rid of Chivo Wallet, and this whole deal with IMF was, from my perspective, it's a huge win for Bukele, because so they decided not to enforce Bitcoin anymore for payments, which never happened. Like, it was in the law, but it was never enforced, right? So it doesn't change anything. The other thing was, you will not be able to pay taxes in Bitcoin. How many people did that? I know 10 people. Probably no one paid taxes in Bitcoin. So I don't think it changed anything. So the biggest change is actually closing Chivo Wallet and Chivo ATM, or selling it at least. But everyone knows it's a terrible wallet and experience. So I think the goal is to sell it. Hopefully the company that buys it, if there will be one, they can just fix it. So it was a way of the government to kind of get rid of the problem, right? And they also got a lot of money from IMF. So I think it's kind of it was actually a smart move from Bukele, with very low cost, let's say, only marketing costs on Bitcoin, because some people were angry at Bukele that. Yeah, so I'm generally positively surprised. Of course, it's not ideal Bitcoin paradise, and will probably never be. There's no Bitcoin city, how they announced. I don't think there will ever be a Bitcoin city. For me, Berlin is a Bitcoin city. Like, it's really there. You can go there, you can live on Bitcoin, and enjoy your life, right? And you don't need this wet dream of Bitcoin metropolia.
Yeah, to me it's interesting. I remember when I was supposed to go to El Salvador in 2022, I think. So almost 3 years ago, there was this event. Actually, adopting Bitcoin, that's the event. And I got sick, I couldn't travel, but I remember when I booked the hotel, and by the way, I could not get a refund for that, and I was pretty upset. But I booked the hotel and asked them, do you accept Bitcoin payments? And they said, no, please send us US dollars. And I didn't try to push it or enforce it and say, hey, it's legal tender, so you're supposed to accept it or whatever. But that has been my experience. I didn't actually step foot in El Salvador because I got sick, and afterwards I just didn't have another opportunity. But I don't know, to me it's strange that adoption happens in this top-down fashion, which first it's required by the president of the country to enable adoption, and then you have a government-mandated wallet, and afterwards you expect people to organically accept it. I think, honestly, so maybe it's an unpopular opinion, but I think the best approach a government can have to Bitcoin is to just ignore it and let it develop and give the citizens the option to choose whatever they want.
Yeah, and it kind of what happened here. It's what happened here. So yeah, I agree that top-down adoption, I don't think it works. Like, you cannot expect global population to just jump on Bitcoin and without understanding it. Like, for each of us, it took years, right, to first of all to understand some parts of the Bitcoin, to really understand how it works, but also then to have the conviction, let's say, to to use it more, not only buy a bit, but use it more or save more, right? So how can we expect Salvadorian population to do the same within 1 year or a few years, right? So top-down adoption doesn't work, and it didn't really. I don't think that what the government did here had a huge impact on the adoption here. I mean, the biggest impact it had was the marketing impact, and also that it brought a lot of Bitcoiners to the country, and it it was a green light that allowed these initiatives, communities to appear. So that was a real and a positive effect. And the other thing is, you said they should ignore it, and I agree. I mean, ignore it, or just support. Maybe they can support these local initiatives, or ignore them, but just don't bother. Right? In most countries, some of this there will be some kind of pushback if someone wanted to do Bitcoin lessons at schools, or paying Bitcoin in a circular economy. There might be some tax implications, some other problems. So the fact that the government allows for that, is even happy about it, I think it's the most positive thing they can do. I don't think the government itself and their initiatives are super affecting the adoption here. The real adoption is just done in the trenches by people who really care about it here in El Salvador.
Let's take the conversation back to Alby, but before that, let me plug some sponsors. First of all, there's Siteshift.ai, which was the first exchange to add Bitcoin. For a couple of years, it was actually one of the most popular places to do submarine swaps, which means getting funds from the Lightning Network to the Bitcoin on-chain, or vice versa. But they stopped after November of 2023, when there was a major exploit that was revealed by Andre. I think his last name is Riard. I don't want to mispronounce that. But there was this reveal, and right now they don't support Lightning anymore, but they do support all sorts of swaps. So if, for example, someone offers to pay you in stablecoins and you want Bitcoin, you just go to Siteshift.ai, you type your Bitcoin address, and then also you're gonna get a stablecoin address. The sender is gonna put their coins to send them to that address, and then you get Bitcoin to your wallet. It's that simple, and they have pretty good liquidity, and there is no mandatory sign up. So check that out. Also, the fees are pretty low. And also have to tell you about two possible versions of the future with Bitcoin. The first one is described by Layer 2 Labs with their Drive Chains implementation. You can check out their software today. It's at layer2labs.com/download. And that's where you can find sidechains that run on the Bitcoin testnet. And you can find one for smart contracts with Ethereum compatibility. You can find one with Zcash privacy, one with big blocks, one with prediction markets. It's pretty interesting. It's like this ecosystem of interactive sidechains, and you can send funds from one to the other. And that can be part of the future of Bitcoin if you want it. So check out the software and try it on a weekend. It can be a lot of fun. And then there's also Citrea, which is trying to bring a ZK rollup into Bitcoin for advanced and more extended financial services on Bitcoin. For example, if you want to put your Bitcoin as collateral to issue stable coins, to take a loan basically against your Bitcoin, you're going to be able to do that with Citrea. And it's a pretty good way to have the features that previously, maybe a few years ago, you remember BlockFi or Celsius. Those were companies, and companies are political, and they can be corrupt, and they can lie to you. But in the case of Citrea, they're trying to do this on a protocol where you only deal with code, you can see what the terms are, and you are going to set your own rules according to what you want. So that one is also getting built on Bitcoin. It's compatible with other Ethereum smart contracts. And right now it's available on the Signet. So go to citrea.xyz, that's citrea.xyz, and check out their software. And now that we presented all of these sponsors, let's talk about what Alby is offering. In the background, you couldn't see this, I guess, because you're not on the live stream. But I tried to install the Alby Hub. Not install, sign up to it. And I typed my email, and it seems like I didn't get the confirmation or the code for registration. So I'm still waiting for that one to arrive to my email box. But let's talk about the getalby.com website, because I see that you have two buttons. One is create account, the other one is what we build. It looks very simple. I think at this point, and I'm gonna put it on the screen, you can't really have a much more easy to use experience. It resembles what you already find in banking applications on your phone. And this one is also compatible with Nostr. So can you please tell me more about how this works?
Yeah, sure. So the Nostr part is currently, I mean, there are like two, let's say, integrations of Nostr in Alby suite of products. So the first one is an Alby extension where you can generate or just import Nostr keys, and then you can use it to safely sign Nostr request messages on the web, on the desktop web, or in case of, I think, Firefox on mobile as well. So yeah, you can log in, kind of similar like of MetaMask on this Web3 EVM stuff, right? So you can log into Nostr applications and you can use it for payments from your connected wallet for seamless payments on websites, right? Without scanning QR code, without getting out your phone and manually sending the payment. And you can also set up, you can set up budgets for each connected website. For example, on this website, I can spend 10,000 sats without any confirmation of the payment, right? So then if I'm on, let's say, Primal, I click the bold button to zap someone, the payment just immediately goes, and you don't even need to confirm anything with Alby extension. So yeah, so this is one integration of this just Nostr identity and safely using Nostr on the web. And the other one is more a kind of backend, how we use Nostr as a backend. And this is the Nostr Wallet Connect protocol, which was also mostly developed by Alby. And this protocol allows to, it leverages Nostr as a communication layer between apps. So similarly, so what it does is that the user needs to exchange a secret, connection secret, between the app and the wallet, and it can be done by scanning a QR code or copying and pasting a secret. And when he does that, then the connection between the wallet and the app is established, right? And then you can do the seamless payments everywhere. So you can do this. You can connect your node to websites, to mobile native apps, to desktop native apps, to I don't know, plugins, games, any kind of device, any kind of platform that can access the internet can establish this connection, right? And then if the user is within those app or game or website when they want to pay or initiate some payment, what happens, and they click pay, let's say, what happens is that that app sends a Nostr through Nostr Relay, sends a message to your node with that payment request, and then the node just pays it. And it can be done asynchronously. So it allows for some interesting use cases. For example, like periodic subscriptions, monthly subscriptions, which can be pulled automatically from your node every month. So it really creates this new exciting, let's say, it expands the programmability of Bitcoin Lightning in an exciting way without any changes to the protocol, right? So we use Nostr as an additional protocol to expand the features of Lightning in a way. And even if you're not a fan of Nostr as social media, it's completely unrelated to that. So you don't have to have Nostr identity to use this protocol. Nostr is just used as a backend, right? So from user perspective, it's very simple and you don't need to know anything about Nostr. And Alby Hub was built around this idea to have a Lightning node that is really focused, or like it's really centered around using your Bitcoin everywhere you want and allowing you to use Bitcoin everywhere. And it's really built around Nostr Connect protocol. So you have at Alby Hub, you have a kind of app store, which is really a list of apps that support Nostr Connect and that you can connect your nodes to. And you have this whole kind of tools to manage these connections. Each connection have similar like in the extension. Each connection can have its own budget. For example, I would like this app can spend 10,000 sats a month, right? So every month it can reset. For each connection, you can change permissions. So you can also create a connection that cannot pay invoices, or can only request invoices, right? You can share your transaction history. You don't have to share your transaction history. So there is a lot of configurability there. And people are coming up with new stuff. New clients are integrating NWC every week, basically. And this is also what I use here. So I have my node on Umbrel home in Warsaw, Poland, but I'm here in Central America. I have a connection to my Alby Go, which is our mobile wallet interface. And I pay everywhere here, every day I pay with my node from Warsaw. It's super fast. Like, payments are instant. Of course, it depends on your channels. I have like 3 LSP channels, and I really don't think about it. Like if you set it up, there's really I have no problems with the setup. Of course, the problems still happen sometimes. Sometimes the channel get closed. So these are still the Lightning, the issues that are kind of inherent to Lightning protocol that may be improved in the future a bit if we get covenants. They also are improving a little bit with just further development of Lightning implementations. And I think they're at the point where they're good enough that it doesn't cause, that many problems as it was 3 years ago or 4 years ago, right? But what's interesting that a lot of Alby Hub users are already self-hosting. They use Umbrels or Start9s, and they just install Alby Hub. And my experience before Alby Hub, I had the Lightning node in my Umbrel, but I didn't use it much. I couldn't do much with it, and I still was using other wallets to pay for stuff. It was just not convenient or to use Umbrel for payments, and I couldn't really use it easily in other environments, right? Like on the web or on mobile. You could connect it to like Zeus, for example. You can do the LND connection to Zeus, but because of Tor, the payments were super slow. And the connections were also somehow unstable. It's sometimes disconnected. So it wasn't really a good experience. But now me and also all these users who install Alby Hub on their self-hosted nodes, they suddenly can very easily use their nodes everywhere they want, right? On the conferences, on the internet, on the web. And you suddenly gain this big amount of use cases or just applications you can use with your node, and the connection is stable. Like Nostr Connect is really, really stable and really fast, and then the Tor doesn't slow it down. I don't know exactly why is that technically, but even if your node is behind the Tor, payments are super fast, and they don't disconnect, and they are very stable. So I think it's a very unique setup that just expands Lightning usage from this pocket money paying for fun for small amounts. This brings you these tools to really use Bitcoin as money and also as this kind of new interesting money that you can easily use in the browser in a self-sovereign way, right? Or in games. You can create a Minecraft mod that has Nostr Connect integration. You could connect your nodes to Minecraft and pay in Minecraft your node, right? So there are these fascinating use cases that are still being explored, and we are thrilled to see how it develops.
Yeah, right now I'm looking at the two options for Alby Hub. And I can go for the free account or for Alby Cloud, which is $119 per year. And I was looking at the features that you have a self-custodial Lightning wallet, 100% open source. You get a Lightning address that has @getalby.com in it. Connect to dozens of Bitcoin apps, integrated LSP services, credit card and SEPA top-ups. So this is for Europeans mostly to buy Bitcoin. Create sub-wallets for friends and family, and Alby Go mobile app to pay with your node. And there's a question in the chat from Paco VM. He wants to know, when will Alby Go allow users to simply log in with their Alby account?
I'm not sure if we're gonna there's no plans now to go that direction. There's when we had the custodial wallet, there was a lot of, not a lot, there are some apps that will allow you to log in with your Alby account. And right now, Alby account is not a wallet anymore. It's just, it's a kind of extra service on top that you can connect your wallet to. And the biggest feature is the Lightning address. So you can have a Lightning address with your node. So we had some apps, especially podcasting 2.0 apps, that you could connect with Alby account and just pay from the custodial wallet, the stream sats from the custodial wallet to podcast players. Now you can still do the same. On the back end, there is your self-custodial wallet. But yeah, I don't know. I think he asked if you can log in with Alby account to Alby Go, or if can you say that again, the question?
So when will Alby Go allow users to simply log in with their Alby account?
Yeah. So we're still considering it. We're kind of reluctant because it kind of defeats the whole. It gives another kind of dependence on Alby in a way. Alby is down. This connection through Alby account will be down. We make the connections through Nostr Connect much easier, almost same as easy. So we recommend just using that because it's more self-sovereign, and it's we want to lower the dependence on Alby, and Alby accounts. You can say there's some dependence there. Also, if you use Alby account, Alby can see your payments. Like we can see your payments, and potentially if we go, if we go mad, we could like steal. If you use Alby account connection, an Alby account connection is the same as to any other app connection in Alby Hub, right? We still use it because there are some apps that allow only to log in with Alby account. So, for example, these podcasting apps. So then you need to use that way to pay with your Lightning. But we still recommend, setting up limits on each connection and also on Alby account connection, because when you connect with Nostr Connect, what happens is that you allow other apps to spend sats from your node, right? So this kind of secure these connections and budgets, and making restrictions on how much you allow this app to do is very important, right? Yeah, so probably will not add this, but I can say we're developing now a way to use Alby Go to connect. If you're on mobile and you want to connect your Alby Hub to some app, you'll be able to do that through Alby Go. So you can initiate connection, Alby Go will open, and you just confirm you want to create new connection, and that connects to your Alby Hub, actually. So the real node behind it. So we're working on that, and in the coming weeks, this one-click connection flow will be seamless. Because right now, if you want to if you're on mobile and want to connect to Alby Hub, you open both apps, right? Alby Hub. You need to open on another tab or on desktop and trace or scan the QR code, right? What we're going to develop is that you will just need to click confirm and the connection is made.
Okay. Right now I'm looking at the sign up screen and I have to link Alby to account or to a wallet. And I see that I have multiple options to use Alby Cloud, to run a personal cloud or server, Umbrel or Start9, desktop. I'm actually curious about desktop, and there's also a manual link to Nostr Wallet Connect. So if I go to desktop, I have to download Alby Hub on my computer.
Yep.
I'm gonna do this and report back as we keep going. I was going to ask, what are some of the most popular apps that you have on Alby?
So definitely the most popular are Nostr social media clients. So Primal, Damos, but also Stacker News is quite popular, which is not Nostr app. Yeah, Alby extension, Alby Go, the mobile wallet. So these are the most popular. Let me take a look. What are the other apps? Yeah, there's Nostr long form apps. There's really cool two bots. One is a Discord bot, and the other is Telegram bot. So you can connect your node to Telegram and Discord, and you can zap people. You can send tips in Telegram and in Discord. And there are a few communities that have installed this bot and allow users to do payments on the Discord. Yeah, there's also, we created a kind of simple POS app that you can connect the node, and this POS only allows to create invoices. So you can hand it to people you don't know, maybe that someone is working on the event and they, you don't know that person, so you want some kind of security or at least peace of mind. So they will be able to get invoices directly to your node and without being able to send money out. So I know some businesses even use it. Yeah, so we still kind of, Alby Hub was created in mind with really retail, let's say retail Lightning person, but we discover more and more that more businesses and like communities or NGOs, some kind of organizations are interested with it, especially that we allow to create the sub-wallets feature, which is a bit similar like it works in LMBits. And how it works is that you can create a special type of connection that has an isolated balance. So usually normal NWC connections just use your whole node balance, or just display your whole node balance. They can be restricted how much they can send and receive, but they have, it's one balance. But you can create a special connection where it's a isolated, separate balance. It still uses your node liquidity, but it's a separate wallet in a way. So some people use it to onboard their family, friends, family, or some organizations are or communities are using it already to, for example, have one node for the organization, but give wallets to the community leaders or coworkers, right? And then you can easily in the node see the balances of those sub wallets. So it grows to be this kind of management of management of sub wallets, kind of this Uncle Jim model, in a way a bit different than how it's done in eCash world. So it's not that private, of course. The owner sees the balances, but it also may have its use case, right? Yeah. So these are the few ways that people use Alby Hub.
Yeah, I've downloaded Alby Hub. I went through the process and now I have to choose an implementation. What I do have to remark until this point is that I like this side where it shows quotes by Satoshi Nakamoto, by Hal Finney. It makes you feel like you're part of something. And now I have to choose between LDK, LND, Cashew Mint, and Phoenix D. Honestly, based on my experience, I'm gonna go for Phoenix D.
I mean, you can do it, but it doesn't work on itself. Like you need to, I don't remember exactly how the flow looks like. You need to have, I don't know, an invitation code or whatever from Phoenix. Like you should go with LDK. Like LDK is the default flow, and it will work. It will work okay. The other are like with Cashew, you need to have a mint. There's some more setup there, and it's not that well adjusted. And if you have a standalone app, if you use Alby Hub as a standalone app, and we also we recommend using LDK. It's also very stable, very good implementation. So we recommend that.
Yeah, I'm looking at the App Store right now to see what you have. You have Zappy Bird, which is a video game that advertises itself as lose sats quickly. It's funny. Zapstream, I've used this one before and it was disappointing because I was paying by the minute and I didn't really get... I've used it to stream the podcast and I didn't really get many views, so it was just like an expense that I couldn't really justify. But it's fun to have. Stacker News, I think right now I have the top post on Stacker News. So if you go to stacker.news, you're gonna see that I advertise the 21 questions show on there. It's pinned at the top of the page. You have a bunch of Nostr clients, a blogging platform. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You have this connections part, the wallet side where you can also buy Bitcoin. Let's see what options you have. You can use Swift and MT Pellerin is the choice that I get. Anyway, I was just curious to see the options. And here it says get started with Alby Hub. I have to open the first channel, link it to my Alby account, send or receive my first payment, connect my first app, and back up my keys. Now my question is, I am going to open a channel, right, after I deposit some Bitcoin, and then I have to link to Alby account. And does Alby store any of the data or try to link transactions to these accounts?
I mean, as I mentioned before, we see transactions that go through Alby account. That means I don't know if we store it. Like, I cannot answer that. But yeah, that gives you a Lightning address, and if you receive to the Lightning address, like we can see that, right? But any other connections, if you connect directly through Nostr Connect, we are completely unaware of any transactions you do. And using Alby account is also optional. You don't have to use it with Alby Hub, so it's a kind of optional improvement of UX in some cases. It also allows you to we're still working on and improving and iterating many things around channel backups. But with Alby accounts, there is an option to use something called VSS, and it's a way to back up your channels, and they are stored. The backup is stored on Alby servers, but it's encrypted by a private key. So on you will still be able to access it, but it allows you then to migrate your node easily without closing your channels. So if you ever need to migrate from one, for example, from desktop to cloud, or I don't know, from desktop to Umbrella node, you'll be able to recover your channels online with just your seed phrase. So there are some additional benefits when to connecting Alby account and having Alby account, but it's not, we don't force users to use it.
Let's say that Alby shuts down for some reason. Will users still be able to make use of the channels that they opened and make payments?
Sure, the channels are channels with LSPs partners, and we are not in any way, we are not in between those. So if Alby shuts down, the channels will be fine.
In order for me to download this, I had to get a code from my email. So I guess Alby knows that this instance was downloaded and installed with that email. So does Alby also know which apps I download? So is it possible to link my email with the apps that I might be using?
No, I don't think. First of all, you don't download the apps. So the App Store only displays your apps and gives you links to, where you can reach that app, but you don't install or download it on Alby Hub. So they're just displayed there to let you know where you can connect. I don't think we don't know anything about how you connect, and we don't. It's also not possible to associate your Alby account email to the hub that is run that you downloaded and you run it. Like, we don't see it. We don't know if you installed it. We don't know if you run it, and we cannot associate it. Also, you can download it without Alby account. You don't need to create Alby account to download Alby Hub on your desktop. You only need Alby account if you want to run Alby Hub in a cloud, in our cloud. Then you need it, and it's also used to pull monthly payments for the service.
Right. So my next question is for someone who's running, let's say, a Raspberry Blitz or an Umbrel node or Start9 or whatever. What are the benefits to adding Alby? And before I give you time to answer this, let me plug the other sponsors that I forgot about. And I didn't forget about, it's just that I delayed this moment. Check out Bitcoin.com news. Maybe that a lot of people remember Bitcoin.com from the time when they could not distinguish between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. Now they finally figured that out. And what I like about them, and the reason why I decided to reach out to them for this endorsement, sponsorship, whatever you want to call it, is that they have a very good news section. So if you go to news.bitcoin.com, something that I read today is called Bitcoin Emerges as Hedge in Iran's Economic Crisis, Chainalysis Study Shows. They have all of these geopolitical news, which I find quite enjoyable sometimes. And it's something that I don't find in too many places. I mean, of course, Bitcoin Magazine covers some of this, but they seem to have their own agenda to it. Whereas, ironically, on news.bitcoin.com, it's a bit more broad and neutral in terms of coverage. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that I find if I check this website every day. So check out their news website. It's pretty good. And I also have to plug No One's, which is the exchange that's trying to onboard the Global South. As you might know, there are billions of people living in more or less tyrannical regimes, and they are the ones who need to use Bitcoin. They don't just want to use it, or they don't just want to speculatively use it. and they also have some of their underground economy that for which mostly they use stuff like gift cards or whatever digital code they can get for exchange, for hustling to resell to someone else at a higher price. And if you want to enable this economy and allow these people to get access to more digital assets that they can sell to each other, check out No One's. You can actually make a buck, sell some of your coins at a premium, and maybe you can also sell some of the Steam codes or whatever it is that you have. And it's pretty interesting. You're participating in this broader economy. And Ray Youssef, who is the CEO of No One's, is previously best known for also running Paxful for a long time. So while he was at Paxful, it was a super blossoming and successful business, and now he's trying to bring this energy into No One's, and I think he's pretty much succeeding. So check out noones.com. It's an exchange unlike many others that you may find on the internet. And last but not least, there's hodling.ch, and these guys are experts in self-custody. If you have a lot of Bitcoin and have no idea how to hold your keys in a way that makes you immune to a $5 wrench attack, then you should probably reach out to these guys, and they're going to teach you all about multi-sigs, all about how to use hardware wallets, and where to keep the keys, because that's the most essential part. And of course, they also give you that Swiss privacy benefit because they're based in Switzerland. And they can also help you with key recovery. So if you lost part of your seed phrase, they can try to brute force it and recover it for you. Of course, they're going to take a cut from that. And also, I guess right now their focus is on companies that try to add Bitcoin to their balance sheet. And let's say that they have a bunch of executives and no executive wants the other one to have too much power to be able to spend the coins or sell them or whatever. So if you want to set up a good quorum for your company, also reach out to hodling.ch. They also give some free advice in one of the episodes from season 15 of the Bitcoin Takeover podcast. It was 50 something. And you can get some free advice in that hour-long interview for free. So hodling.ch. Thank you for sponsoring. And now let's talk about Alby. I've asked you a question, and it was about full node implementations and these sovereign users wanting or not wanting to add Alby. What are the benefits for it?
Yeah, so users of Start9 or Umbrel, they can install Alby Hub just from the App Store of these platforms. And yeah, and then it's completely free. And it just gives you a way to use your node more. So you can connect it to Alby Go, which is our mobile wallet interface. You can connect it to Zeus. They lately, in the last release, they introduced a way to connect with Nostr Connect. So then you can very easily and reliably pay with your node at conferences or traveling in these Bitcoin communities or with just your merchants around you. It works really well. It works fast. You can easily connect it to Alby extension, so you can pay with your node on websites, on Stacker News, on this Nostr social media apps. Yeah, and there's just more fun or more niche use case or apps that we also talked about before. So it just expands possibilities of your node. I have this talk about NWC that I presented on a few places. I say it gives your node superpowers. It gives a bit more. It brings a bit more of this programmability that Andreas Antonopoulos was talking about, 12 years ago, whatever. That when you have programmable money, the possibilities are endless, right? So it allows you to participate in this interesting apps, and the app creators can create very unique payment experiences and very unique, use cases of just using Bitcoin, and they can just program it whatever they like in their app. and you can participate in it with your Bitcoin, right? So it's funny because it brings some of the stuff that you can see in Web3, Ethereum places. Of course, it's not the same level of, let's say, automation in a way. There's no smart contract, so it all depends on the app developer how they create. It's more centralized in a way that the app developer decides how these funds are used, right? Inside the app, and they can change it as an app developer, but still it brings you this just more fun way to use Bitcoin. And our goal is to really, the goal of Alby is to really let users use Bitcoin as internet money and really use it. And we try to facilitate also the ecosystem. We invest a lot money and energy to help spread Nostr Connect. This week there is a Bitcoin++ hackathon in Brazil, in Florianopolis, where I was supposed to be, but I lost my passport here in Costa Rica, so I'm stuck here. But we, Alby is sponsoring NWC track on the whole hackathon, so there's extra, also with contribution from Flash, there's extra $1,000 in Bitcoin if you're gonna work on NWC project. So we're really excited to see how many cool, interesting projects will come up after this hackathon, and we're probably gonna sponsor more hackathons this year on different events.
I think that's the best way to go, to get builders to work on this. I was going to ask you, because you said you are the interface designer for Alby.
Yep.
And I was going to ask you, where do you get your inspiration for designing these applications? And what do you think can be further optimized?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, inspiration comes from really a lot of places. So, of course, there's, for example, Bitcoin design community. It's a community of Bitcoin UX, UI, but also graphic designers. There's a lot of great discussions and initiatives there about how to create good Bitcoin user experience. There's also amazing Bitcoin design guide, and it's amazing if you're building any Bitcoin product, because it's very extensive and you have very good guidelines and like standardized and tested user experience, interactions, or just good patterns, how to design good wallet interface, what to show when you show transaction list, when you have channels, flows, and it's also great, not only if you build a product, but also just for educating yourself, because there's good amount of great educational content there. But of course, I get inspiration just from using wallet, using different Bitcoin products, using products that are non-Bitcoin but have some great UX. I always try to think, okay, I really like this, how we can bring something similar to our products. But of course, the most important data we use to work on our products is just our users. So we talk with our users on social media. I observe user problems. I also reach out to users directly. Sometimes I do like short interviews with them to find out their problems or how they use Alby, or to get real world data, and based on that, based on some empirical data, we also try to improve our products. Also, sometimes I do usability tests. So before something is implemented, I can do a prototype of this feature, let's say, or app, which is interactive, but it's not real app. And then what I do is that I reach out to some users and ask them to interact with it. Usually there's some kind of scenario. For example, you want to connect to some app, try to do it, right? And they try to click the app, and you just observe how they do it, and then you can find out where they are confused, what do they do not understand. So you explore these problems that may arise, and based on that, if you test it with, I don't know, usually 5 people is enough to find around 80% of issues in the given flow, for example, right? So so we try to do it. I don't have always time to do it for like every feature we work on. So a lot of this is also based on like, because it's very time consuming. So a lot of what we do, not everything what we do had this thorough process of this user testing, but I try to do it as much as I can, especially in areas that are less explored, or there are less settled good patterns that we can take inspiration from.
I think my first Lightning wallet was Blue Wallet back in 2018, I think. And then I also tried Wallet of Satoshi, and those two were the most popular at the time. I did not expect Blue Wallet to go out of business and Wallet of Satoshi to keep going. For some reason, I always perceived Blue Wallet to be superior to Wallet of Satoshi. But I think those were the starting points of designing a Lightning wallet for Bitcoin. Because in the interface, they only had 2 buttons, send and receive. And then you had that options button. So they tried to make it as basic as possible. But I do notice that in Alby, even though the buttons are the same, the design is different. So it does have some of its own visual identity. And I was wondering if you contributed to that, and what's your design philosophy for making Alby distinguishable from something else?
Yeah, so I didn't create an initial Alby, let's say, style, because I joined Alby when there was already Alby extension and the logo and the yellow color. So I didn't kickstart the whole identity branding, let's say. But I was a bit improving on that. I was just iterating on that, and yeah, just trying to maybe refresh it a bit, right? But I didn't really change the whole thing. But I like it because it's different. Like, I don't know any other yellow Bitcoin company, right? It differentiates itself a bit. So it's easier to get to look a bit different than others. But by the way, I think Wallet of Satoshi may be working on self-custodial wallet, because I don't know if you've seen, they shared an interesting screenshot on their Twitter a few, like 2 weeks ago, with like a key icon next to the somewhere on the wallet interface, but I don't know. We don't know for sure if that's it, but that'll be interesting progression for them too.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening in terms of design, and it's beautiful to see that it becomes more friendly over time. It's not geeky anymore. It's just that I wish the backend infrastructure was more solid. There was this announcement, which was not, as far as I know until now, it was not confirmed by Lightning Labs, but there was this exploit that hackers could use on an older version of LND to steal funds from your channels. It's pretty scary. I wish these incidents did not exist, so that builders and creators of interfaces and everything cool like applications would have a peace of mind when they're building stuff, But I said in the beginning of this interview about Sideshift and the fact that they stopped supporting Lightning after, and I called him Andre Riard. His name is really Antoine Riard. So if you want to look into what he reported back in November of 2023, if I'm not mistaken, search for Antoine Riard Lightning. And he said he wouldn't talk about it on interviews until he finds a fix for it. So I look forward to getting him on the show one day.
Yeah, unfortunately, whenever there's money involved, there's always a risk and money and software, right? There's always a risk of some kind of exploit, right? And you can see it in traditional banking, you can see it in other cryptos, especially, exploiting smart contracts. You can see it in Lightning, and you can probably see it also in Bitcoin layer 1, although probably this one is the most less susceptible to that. But of course, Lightning is much more complicated. There's much more moving parts, and I think it will just get better. It will not get worse. It could only get better. And I'm also very interested how Lightning interaction with other layers, especially ARC, will look like, right? So there's, of course, this is speculative now, and we probably shouldn't bet, all our money on this, but there are some interesting possible interactions with ARC where the Lightning and ARC could supplement each other, right? So I'm also optimistic here that it will get better. I think a lot of people are just impatient and are not aware how long some of this stuff takes, and especially adoption-wise. Credit cards, it took 40 years for credit cards to really get worldwide adopted, and still you have some places in the world, like Germany, where the adoption of credit or debit card payments is not that widespread. So it's hard to see the perspective if you really dip into in our bubble or our niche. But I think the pace is actually not that slow as some people think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if that example is the best one we can make, because it's not about a different way to pay, it's about a different form of currency. And it's a very different mindset. When you pay with your credit card, of course, you have to trust the bank, you have to entrust them with your data, you have to maybe hope that they will never use that data against you or sell it to advertisers to further put you under surveillance. But in the case of Bitcoin technology, that was, or at least I hope it's not part of the conversation. And the mindset is entirely different, that you don't want to use, first of all, you want to not use fiat money, and secondly, you want to get a degree of privacy.
Yeah, but if we talk about, okay, you're right that this comparison maybe is not perfect, because one is payment system, this is all separate currency. So in that case, we are even more impatient, right? Like changing naturally, organically changing to different currency is probably socially even more, it needs more time, I think. So, of course, I would love to be in a hyper Bitcoinized world tomorrow, but it will probably take many, many more years or decades if it ever comes. But there is this question, right? Like if you imagine a world where the Bitcoin doesn't, or just appeared 2009, and the end goal, there's a hyper Bitcoinization, the whole world uses Bitcoin, right? How would you imagine the progression, right? And I think we're living in the times that are kind of realistic on some point in that timeline, right? And also probably we don't want it to happen too fast, because that would probably mean there's a World War III and like total chaos. And if fiat currencies collapse too fast, that means probably there will be a lot of suffering around. So yeah, this is interesting. The whole adoption, hyperlinkization, and what are where Bitcoin is at is always interesting to discuss and speculate, but I think a lot of Bitcoiners are like too impatient and and expect too much in the quite short amount of time when you look at the global scale of financial of how people use money.
Yeah, but if you look at altcoins, it's also disappointing to see that some use cases that were considered not important in the case of Bitcoin ended up getting a lot of users. You have to remember that Counterparty and Omni enabled tokens to be issued on Bitcoin. Tether was a token that was issued on Bitcoin 9 years ago. And right now, the highest volume for Tether is on Tron. And that one is huge. I think right now, a large chunk of Africa and South America and the Middle East is on Tron. And it's using the exact same user experience as Bitcoin. It uses the same technology as Bitcoin. It's just that it's not Bitcoin. And I think this is where we failed to a large degree.
Yeah, but don't you think a lot of it, of course, there's a part where just layer one Bitcoin is just more expensive to use than Tron, and Lightning is still not that easy.
No, it's not. Right now, it's like $4 to send a Tron transaction.
Yeah, so I think the main problem here is not that Bitcoin technology is not ready for those people to use. I think the problem is just they don't want volatility of Bitcoin, right? And they prefer stable price of dollar. This is the main drive. And it takes years. I think most of people I know, it was also me. Like, it takes years to have high conviction to Bitcoin and like putting some considerable amounts of funds there, right? So a lot of these people don't have just better alternative. I mean, they better than they have their own fiat, which is much worse, like Argentine pesos. They can use this USD on Tron, and it just fulfills their needs. They at least for payments, maybe not for, but even for savings, like it's still better than saving in pesos. So it takes time to be safe with Bitcoin and understand it in a way that to think, okay, I want to save in it, and still many Bitcoiners who save in it, they don't transact in it really. So why do we expect those people in Argentina to transact in Bitcoin if many Bitcoiners don't transact in Bitcoin?
Yeah, and if you also push this mindset that you should never sell your Bitcoin, and selling is also buying stuff with it. When you're sending someone some Bitcoin in exchange for a good or service, it's basically selling. Even if you're not directly the person who sells on the exchange, there's going to be someone at the end of this chain of trades that's going to sell. And if you develop this mindset that Bitcoin is not money and it's just an asset, it's just a ticker, just like a stock, it's a commodity or whatever, I don't think we're gonna get there. People believe that this is a Trojan horse approach, but in the meantime, you see stablecoins getting a lot of traction in the background. And they don't talk about this at Bitcoin conferences. And ironically, a bunch of the guys who are very bullish about Bitcoin are under the paycheck of Tether and Bitfinex. And they're not allowed to criticize any of that. But I think the biggest gamble that Satoshi Nakamoto made with Bitcoin is the one that concerns the halving cycles and assumes that there's still going to be security constantly, even if the reward in Bitcoins is going to diminish after every 210,000 blocks, which is approximately 4 years. And if the transactions are moving elsewhere and not on Bitcoin, it's gonna face this existential crisis where we say, okay, if we don't use the base layer for transactions and the blocks are not full and people are not willing to pay the miners because it's more convenient to use something else, then how are we going to secure it? And I think the most unpopular two proposals are to add inflation via tail emission, so that there's a guarantee that no matter what, there's gonna be a block reward for the miners. And the other one is to make Bitcoin proof of stake, and that one is also very contentious right now. Now we're laughing right now, but we don't know how our kids will think. We don't know what the situation will be like in 40, 50 years. And Bitcoin is designed for a long-term vision. So there's this uncertainty that we have about mining, whether or not there's still going to be the same extent of security to the network. And if we're not making transactions using Bitcoin and we're not paying the miners, we're just enabling this future where there's some uncertainty.
Yeah, there's for sure there is uncertainty. So far, at least so far, miners are profitable, hash rate grows. Also, you need to understand the hash rate will not grow forever, and probably even if it was 10% of the current hash rate we have, it will probably still safe, right? So at some point it will reach some kind of equilibrium, and it still should be safe. I mean, putting aside the quantum fat and quantum risk, let's say. Yeah, I agree. I mean, we should use Bitcoin, and also a lot of transaction volume just went to Lightning, and it also takes fees from layer 1. And in principle, it's good, but it's good when the fees are high on layer 1. But when the fees are low, then we really, if and it will keep that way, then yeah, we'll have a problem. But I think there will always be a demand for layer 1 block space, and especially we're entering this era of Bitcoin layer 2s. There's I think about 80 now in development, and of course most of them are not real layer 2s, and they are not decentralized, and maybe with covenants they may be more the trustless and centralized, but some of them seem to have some good grounding, and seems like some of them may also need more. I guess all of them need to have use some kind of block space, right? So hopefully in the future, layer 1 will just be filled with this high volume transactions, and maybe there's other protocols that are rolling up those payments on layer 2s, and this will make some economic sense. And so far, Bitcoin seems to have this kind of interesting self-balancing dynamics in both hash rate, the price, the block space, and I don't exactly know how all of this balances itself, but so far it works, and
it only balances itself because the price goes up and it doubles in terms of US dollars every 4 years, or more than doubles. If we don't get the number go up proportionately, it's gonna be problematic, and that's when we're gonna have real conversations about this topic. Usually this is just labeled as FUD, and people say, we don't need to talk about that.
But then it will also balance itself just a bit down, right? It's just the price will slow down, so maybe some miners will bankrupt, whatever, and it's still the price is still a part of this bigger system. I see it, and it's still. I mean, I don't know if it's able to balance itself forever. I'm not claiming that. It just magically somehow works so far, and I don't see a good, solution to that, right? Like how we can improve that. We need to use more Bitcoin, but also to use more Bitcoin, we need bigger adoption. And bigger price also brings bigger adoption, right? So it's all interconnected. It's very hard to kind of look at those elements in isolation, I think. Yeah, but these are my just layman thoughts.
Yeah, I think in the end we're gonna end up increasing the block size. Not too much,
Right?
but enough for
But
users to be able to
but the
onboard
blocks,
L2s.
but the blocks are empty now. Why do we want, why
Because
would
the
you?
people are transacting on Tron, that's why. Or Solana.
Yeah, but I think, as you said, Tron is now more expensive than Bitcoin Layer 1. So I don't think it's a reason. I think the reason is the Bitcoin price is not stable, not that it's more expensive.
No, it's just that people, so when they transact Tether on Tron, I think their reference is the price of Western Union settlements, remittances. Is that what they're called? I think remittances. So if Western Union charges like $20, anything below that for sending dollars is acceptable for them.
Yeah, but Bitcoin is also cheaper, right?
Yeah, but how much of Tether is on Bitcoin?
And now zero, but
No, it's not
at least
zero. It's still something.
there is something. Okay, they still use a counterparty
No, Omni.
or
It
yeah,
used to
sorry.
be called Mastercoin, and they
Yeah,
still have some of it.
well, they just announced it on Lightning, right? I'm kind of skeptical. I mean, I'm mixed how big adoption it can get, because yeah, it will be fast, but there's still the same channel management issues as on Lightning. So why those wallets will need to have those challenges unless they're custodial, right? So why would someone use that than Tron? No, it'd be cheaper. I guess it'd be cheaper than Tron if you already have a channel. So maybe that's why. But yeah, but what's interesting about stablecoins on Lightning is that you can have and that's a big advantage compared to other networks. I think that it uses the same pool of liquidity, right? And I can send you USDT, but you accept USDC, for example. Like we don't need the tokens are kind of interoperable and they all use the whole Lightning network as liquidity. So this is very interesting. This is a very interesting property of the stablecoins on Lightning, which I don't know if it will get any traction. And I also have mixed feelings if it's good or bad. But we cannot stop it, so I kind of am a piece at that, right? Yeah, but there's an interesting problem. Like if there's a hard fork, and suddenly you have these companies that issue those stablecoins, and then they will have some market voice on which Bitcoin is on which Bitcoin hard fork will they grant the dollar value, right? That are backing the stablecoins. So there's like a kind of additional risk, let's say, to at least to this political influence on what is real Bitcoin in case of hard fork. But I don't think it will happen or it's a big problem, but we probably should be aware of that.
Yeah. I think we're gonna get a hard fork just to fix some problems at one point. There is a timestamping issue that is gonna be problematic maybe in 50, 60 years, and that one needs fixing. There's some issues with, I think it would be ideal for transactions to be encrypted to miners in a way that miners cannot discriminate between transactions. That would be very cool if we could have that. One way to do it is with confidential transactions, but we also have much better cryptography libraries than we did back in 2009 when Satoshi launched Bitcoin. So I think those are some of the important changes. I would also be in favor of having like 16 megabyte blocks as maximum size, just in case you get a large inflow of users and they want to open their own Lightning channels or they want to onboard Arc or drive chains or whatever.
Well, to be onboarded to Arc, you don't need layer 1 transaction at all. So you can get onboarded directly on L2. So that's a cool thing about Arc.
But
I
it's
have
still a
one of
hot
my-
wallet, so
yeah, I'm not super knowledgeable Arc. But yeah, I always say I'll be up for block size increase if we can run full Bitcoin node on my mobile phone and it's easy and fast. Then I'll be okay with block size increase. But it still be a hard fork, right? So that's kind of
you can do it with a soft fork with extension blocks.
okay.
Litecoin
And,
has done it.
But do those blocks maintain all the properties of the original blocks, or there are some trade-offs?
They're gonna be run in parallel, and there's a signature or timestamp for this block that's running in parallel. What is cool about it is that you can also add some stuff, like for example, Litecoin added Mimblewimble on it. And Mimblewimble is this protocol for data compression, which means that after a few blocks, you only get the first and the last transaction from that block. Everything else gets removed. Because
Yeah, but in
what the
general,
protocol cares about is just to maintain the same supply and make sure that there's no inflation, but it doesn't need to store every transaction.
yeah, I guess all of this increases a bit the cost of verification, right? But then if my phone can do it and it's can handle it, then I guess it'd be fine. But there's, I guess, I think there's some pushback on like introducing this kind of two types of base layer transactions, or I think people are concerned, and I'm also probably subscribing to that, to like this kind of secondary effects of adding this complexity for this base layer transactions, or there's some questions about fungibility, I guess. And there's kind of two classes of transactions. I know I much prefer the philosophy to do that on layer twos, right? To do this experiments or more privacy, or maybe a bit more risky protocols on layer twos. But to do that, we still need probably covenants, at least, to have those tools, those building blocks to allow protocol builders to do those good layer twos, because right now it's not really possible. So yeah, so if we're gonna ossify now, I'm not optimistic, but I don't think we're gonna ossify. I hope we're not gonna ossify yet.
Yeah, I mean, if we don't do anything because we complain about complexity and we're afraid, there's already 130,000 Bitcoin on Ethereum, WBTC. I think it's the biggest layer 2 right now for people who want to do DeFi stuff with their Bitcoin. So if we don't do it, other people will do it.
We should do it, just not on layer 1, I think. And probably with covenants, people would be able to do it on layer 1. But I think if we can have the safe trustless layer 2, bridging layer 2, there will be no big reason to do it on layer 1. So yeah, it's just more risky to mess with layer 1 with like the core things like transaction types on layer 1, in a way, like adding confidential transactions, and maybe it's safe. I don't know, like I'm not that technical knowledgeable. It's just I understand, and I'm kind of following this. I love experimentation, and Alby is all about working on Lightning and trying new stuff, and trying new protocols, and that can enhance Lightning. So this is much, I think, safer development path for the internet money.
Right. Let's talk a bit about Alby in the closing statement. How would you convince someone who never tried Alby and has been listening to the interview up to this point to give it a chance?
I would say, so I probably wouldn't recommend Alby, at least not yet, to like complete beginners who never tried Lightning, or if you onboard someone, I probably wouldn't recommend it unless you do this sub wallet where you just onboard someone to use your liquidity node. But that's already if you're a Alby Hub owner. So I would recommend Alby if you, for example, use Lightning, and feel comfortable with paying Bitcoin, even if it's only custodial wallet. I think Alby Hub now it's probably one of the easiest way to have a Lightning node. Outside of Phoenix, which is also a Lightning node, Alby Hub is what's unique about it is that it's a very easy way to set up a 24/7 online Lightning node and because it's 24/7 and because it uses this Nostr Connect protocol, it allows you to just use it wherever you want on every platform, every device, every app that implements Nostr Connect. So it really makes your Lightning node very useful, right? With Phoenix, you can only use it for mobile payments. Unless you use the Phoenix D, then you can use it on your desktop. But if you have Phoenix D, you can also use it within Alby Hub, and then also use it in different apps, right? So Alby Hub is really powerful tool that we allow to use different backends. We allow you to use it with any LSP one. We also make it very easy, so we have good defaults. If you're not, very comfortable with channel management, you don't want to think about it. It's still not fully automated, but we give you very good defaults. You can just click next, 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 and and pay for 1 or 2 big channels, and they should work. And when you have them opened, you probably don't need to think about it, for weeks or months. So it's a very first good step to try self-custodial Lightning, and also it gives you these unique features that other Lightning wallets do not support. Yeah, so that would be it, I think.
Okay, Saunter, thank you very much. And also, where can people follow you and keep up with your latest adventures in Latin America?
So on X, stacking Saunter, and on Nostr, I'm Saunter at getalby.com, and that will be the 2 ways to find me, I think.
Thank you very much, and best of luck with your adventure.